Everything started with me and a couple of my buddies hanging out at my place. For the sake of this story, I will name my two friends Michael and Lucas. Basically, everyone got pretty much wasted from drinking too much cheap bourbon Michael had brought with him. It was around 2 a.m. when Lucas, still a bit drunk, suggested that we should go and explore the abandoned insane asylum. For some context, we all live together in the same small town. There's not much going on here, but when you drive about 15 miles on empty back roads, you should come across an old mental hospital, which has been vegetating ever since it was abandoned in the 1960s, due to reasons I don't know. Back to the story. So since there was really nothing better to do, we all agreed to do the 30-minute drive. We grabbed our backpacks, some water, 3 flashlights, and a big hunting knife for protection. Lucas also brought a couple of graffiti cans for obvious reasons. Yeah, he was into that stuff at the time. The drive was relatively unspectacular, with the exception that Michael almost ran over a rattlesnake lying in the middle of the road. When we arrived, the sight of this huge asylum just standing there for all these years made me feel a little uneasy, but my doubts quickly evaporated as Michael and Lucas were already going around the place looking for an entrance. We finally found a window that was not completely boarded up with beams, and then crawled headfirst through the small opening. I quickly got on my feet and let my eyes get adjusted to the darkness that completely surrounded us. We powered up our flashlights and began wandering through the corridors with rooms on either side. The walls were pretty much all covered in graffiti, so Lucas suggested that we should go look for a basement entrance with the intention of finding a free spot for his graffiti. After a 30-minute search, we finally found the basement entrance. The stairs were rusty and creaked with every step. The whole basement smelled terrible. Lucas quickly disappeared down a long hallway with rooms on either sides, Michael and I keeping pace up behind him. As we wandered off further into the dark hallway, which our cheap flashlights only poorly lit up, the terrible smell grew even worse. I can only describe it as a mixture of vomit and rotten eggs. What struck me as odd was that all the walls were pretty much clean, unlike the site we made at the first floor. It seemed nobody had ever made it all the way to explore the basement level. Everything was going relatively smooth up until the point when Lucas started making a loud noise by shaking his graffiti cans in order to prepare them for his act of vandalism. So he started spray painting one of the nearby walls. Michael and I just watched him do his thing. When he finally finished his piece, the smell of aerosol in the air almost drowned out the horrible stink that was still in the air. As we made our way down the hallway, I could tell the smell came from a small room further down to the left of us. At this point, we were all pretty much freaking out about what we would find in that room. I held the hunting knife tight in my hands as I approached the room and shined my flashlight inside. The light beam hit, and I kid you not, a circle of burned out candles. In the center of the candles was a dark object hanging from the ceiling. At this point, I had to vomit because of the smell coming from this room. Michael was the bravest one of us, so he stumbled into this room, grabbing a metal bar from the pile of junk next to him, poking the object with it. It was then that we realized the huge amount of dark brownish stains on the floor under that thing. We all quickly sobered up due to the situation as we heard several voices and fast approaching footsteps from across the other hallway. I never ran that fast in my entire life. It's really amazing what adrenaline can do. We finally reached the set of stairs and sprinted through the floor. As we finally reached the window we had entered from, Michael also vomited onto the floor. Lucas then realized that he had left his backpack full of stuff in the basement, as we hadn't had enough time to pick it up. We sprinted out front and got in my car and hightailed it out of there. We only have theories about what we saw in that basement. Maybe there was some kind of satanic ritual taking place there, or we just stumbled across a murder scene. We haven't told anybody the story. In fact, Lucas told me he had not had a good night of sleep since that day, knowing he left his wallet and his backpack there, which had all of his personal information, including his home address.
This happened 10 years ago. My friends and I thought it would be a fun idea to explore an abandoned butter factory out deep in the bush away from all civilization at 2 a.m. in the morning because we had nothing better to do. So we all jumped into my car and drove down a dirt road that felt like it went on for ages, slowly strolling along, admiring the stars and the sound of the bush at night. We eventually arrived at a rundown building with a fence that was barely maintained. The building was directly in front of the road. Wild bushes, gum trees surrounded the building, and the blackberry bushes made it nearly impossible to get around the back. There were broken windows, a door entrance with no door, and vandalism covered every brick on the place. My friends and I, excited by the mere thought of entering this place, gave us the adrenaline to step inside with nothing but our phones as light. We stepped inside to see a giant room with a massive hole in the middle, stairs to the left and right, one leading into the basement, and the other leading to the upstairs, and satanic vandalism sprayed on the walls. My friends and I walked over the hole to see if our phones could see down it, but it was so deep and was swallowed by the darkness, so the best idea we had was to split up and check out the place individually. I chose the basement for some wacky fun reason, and my friends all went upstairs, leaving a complete floor separating us. As I followed into the darkness, I swear I could hear sounds of something scratching off in the distance. I shrugged it off, thinking it was rats. My phone's light pretty much lit up most of the basement floor, and there was more satanic vandalism, melted candles, a dirty mattress, and used needles on the ground, all pointed to a druggie's pad. I searched the whole bottom floor and found nothing. Decided to go upstairs to meet my friends, and as I was walking upstairs, I thought I heard a rustle in the darkness, but didn't want to check it out. When I got to the top floor, there was barely any floor to walk on. I saw my friends clinging on the walls as they climbed their way across back towards the stairs. As creepy as this place looked, it was pretty mundane. We looked top to bottom, found nothing of real interest, and so we headed back to the car. And as we opened the car doors and turned the lights on, the beams shined on the front door, and at that moment we saw a head poke out from the entrance with a massive grin as he gestured us to come back inside with his hand. We were all stunned. Saw the color drain from some of my friends' face, knowing there was someone else in there the whole time, somewhere in the building, and possibly down in the basement with me. Sent shivers down my spine. A random building in the middle of the bush? No thanks. Later, I ended up driving back there to check it out once more with a few other friends. They demolished it and turned it into a small cottage, however.
Back in college, my friends and I got into the habit of exploring abandoned buildings. We've seen some incredible places and have gotten some pretty cool souvenirs. I don't really condone taking stuff from some buildings, but if it is about to be torn down and the contractors have taken out everything they deem to be worth something, then I'll gladly take that depression class they left behind. I digress. It's a small group of friends that goes exploring with me, and I love introducing new people to it. A friend of mine had asked me on several occasions if I could take him somewhere because he had never went exploring before. I decided to take him to an old paper factory that didn't have much inside, but had an absolutely beautiful view of the city from the roof. Also, it was incredibly easy to get in and out of. We went with a few other people, but two of my friends had decided to wait outside for us since they had been in the building a few too many times to find it interesting anymore. As we went to climb inside, a drunk couple came out. Not unusual, a lot of people use the building to smoke, drink, or paint in. We asked them if there were many people inside. They said they thought it was mostly empty, but they heard someone banging around a few floors up that startled them out. They said he sounded angry and maybe we should avoid the roof. Since we weren't there to drink or anything, the roof was our only goal. We decided we'll take our chances and head up. After all, it is a massive building and we didn't think we would run into the guy. We walk up 10 flights of stairs and then climb the ladder to the roof. My friend is impressed and the view is awesome. As we are about to head back down, my friend waiting on the street calls us. He says that a man has passed down the street and the two of them pulled him out of the way of traffic and called an ambulance for him. They suggest we waited out on the roof to avoid exiting the building while the cops are there. Neither of us can afford the fine or 2-week jail time for just looking at the city from an abandoned building. We wait, but we probably shouldn't have waited on the roof. We get the all clear for my friend to come back down and we head to the ladder. My friend goes first and then our flashlight dies. The ladder is tricky to get onto when you can't see it, and it's missing some rungs, so I come down very slowly in the dark, afraid of hurting myself. I hop down and my friend tells me very quietly that he hears something in the room next to us. I shrug it off. We already know people are in the building. That's when the screaming starts. At first, it almost sounds like one of my friends who waited outside yelling my name. I hesitate at the top of the stairs, just outside the door of the room the screaming's coming from, trying to decide if it's him and he's playing some sort of prank. The guy I came into the building with grabs my wrist and we start running down the stairs. At this point, it's obvious it's not my friend, it's just guttural, intense screaming. We start running down the stairs and then hear really loud banging to go with the screaming. It sounds like this guy has a very heavy object that he is swinging out the walls and exposed pipes with. There is only one flight of stairs because every other way down is an out-of-order freight elevator. So we are trapped in this stairwell and it's 10 flights until we reach the ground floor and we have to book it to the opposite side of the factory and back out the hole we climbed through. Besides screaming and swinging that heavy object, we hear him barreling down the stairs behind us, but he has at least one floor behind. Whatever he is using to hit the walls and pipes with is clearly enough to do some damage to our skulls, because a bit of brick chipped off the wall follows us down the steps. And that's when my friend grabs my wrist again and throws me through the nearest door. We've only made it down 3 floors, and at the beginning of each flight of stairs there is one door that opens into the entire level. In other words, it's painfully obvious where we've gone. After flying into this room, we notice that it's been gutted like every other floor, but more of the windows are boarded up and it's very dark. All that's in the room to hide behind are some pillars. We get behind one and huddle together. This guy stops outside the doorway to the room we are in, and he is still screaming. It's absolutely terrifying. Then he starts swinging his weapon around and slamming it into the door frame. We're sure he is going to come in, and the only way out is the door he's currently standing in. Neither of us ever look around the pillar to see the guy, and we have no idea what his weapon is. Nearly 4 minutes passed, and he hasn't stopped screaming. For whatever reason, he doesn't come into the room we are in, but starts running down the stairs. We can hear him hitting pipes and smacking the walls, and we just wait. We have 7 floors to go now, and we could pass him in any doorway on the way down. Eventually, the screaming and banging stops, but we still think we should wait. That's when we hear something from a different corner of our room. There's just enough light from a window in the back that hasn't been boarded up, and we see a figure get up off the floor. This person has been in the room with us the entire 7 or 8 minutes we've been in here, and they haven't let on until now. This person, who was in front of the only light source, so we just see a totally black figure, is now shuffling towards us without making a sound. It's exactly like a zombie movie, and we run. We don't bother to find out what this person's deal is and temporarily forget about the first, clearly dangerous guy. For an asthmatic, I hauled ass down the stairs and never paused to catch my breath even once. As we are reaching the bottom of the stairwell, the screaming starts again. It's coming from the room next to us, but we don't stop running. The hole in the wall that we climbed through to get into the building is yards away, and this man comes crashing out of the room behind us. We never look back and climb through the hole so fast that I don't even remember doing it. Our 2 friends are waiting for us, and we throw ourselves into the car. They ask what happened because apparently that man was so loud they could hear him screaming and breaking things from outside the building. And they thought we were making all that noise. We're going to give it a few minutes before calling us to remind us that the police were still patrolling the area for drunk underage college students and that we should probably shut up. I tell them what happened and then decide to carry on with our plans for the night because a beer was totally necessary after that.
I wanted to write about something that happened a day ago. Quarantine is pretty much driving me and my friends insane. So yesterday, me and 2 of my friends wanted to drive to this abandoned elementary school that's on the western side of town. Before you start picturing these decrepit, moldy ruins, it's actually a lot more lackluster than you'd imagine. It's more empty than abandoned, and only been unused for a year now. So, we got there at around 6. The sun beginning to set. We had brought flashlights, and so we walked in. We were in some empty lobby at first. No furniture, just concrete walls. I eventually wandered away from my friends down some corridor, looking in some classrooms. Surprisingly, there were some desks, whiteboards, and shelves left behind, but that was it. While walking around aimlessly, I ended up on the ground level, in some area where part of the floor had collapsed, and I could see what appeared to be a dark crawl space underneath the floor. I yelled for my friends to come check it out and got down on my knees, aiming a flashlight in there. This is where shit got creepy. The flashlight beam exposed someone's dirty, bare feet just standing in there by the hole. I couldn't see anything other than their feet. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I get into situations like this that scare me, I just have this dumb instinct to start getting loud and making noise. Call me stupid, but I got no control over it. So instead of running away, I just backed up and shouted loudly as possible. Hey, what are you doing down there? Really stupid, I know. That's when I hear a voice respond. Get out. Really firmly. I shit myself and obeyed, hastily walking away as I again shouted for my friends. When they didn't answer, I called one of them, and he picked up telling me that they were waiting by the car because they got bored. I met them outside and peeled away from there. Not really terrifying or life-threatening, but it makes a good story. In hindsight, probably just a homeless guy. I guess I feel bad for him, but I sure as hell ain't going back anytime soon.